Hey everybody, I'm Jay Jones.
And I'm LT.
And we are the Dose Offensive Gentlemen. Now let's talk about some shit.
Oh, yeah. Happy New Year, motherfuckers. It's a brand new year.
2018.
New podcast. And we got a new drink.
And today we're drinking ARDBEG 10-year whiskey. Straight.
No chaser.
Straight, no chase. Right?
All
yeah.
right.
With a little bit of chaser. We're drinking water.
Oh, well, I mean, that's just to clean the palate. But,
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty. I wouldn't say neat. Would it be considered neat if you have a metal cube in it?
I would say, because you're not diluting it at all.
Okay, so I guess we're drinking ARDBEG neat.
Neat, yeah.
So what's it say about the 10-year-old?
All right, so it says ARDBEG 10-year-old from their website is revered around the world as the peatiest, smokiest, most complex single malt of them all, yet it does not flaunt the peat. Rather, it gives way to the natural sweetness of the malt to produce a whiskey of perfect balance. Named World Whiskey of the Year in 2008. Non-chill filtered with a strength of 46% ABV.
You know, this is why people often say when you drink like whiskey, scotch, stuff like that, you feel smarter because listen to that. That just sounds like so sophisticated.
It really does, yeah.
It does. All right, so before we dive into this, one of the things we want to bring back is kind of a lost art. I won't say a lost art. It's still done, but not as much as it used to anymore. And that's a good old-fashioned toast. So in honor of new revelations or things that happened that brought into the new year, I am going to toast 2018 with this. Here's to the storks that brings good babies, to the crows that bring bad babies, and to the swallows that bring no babies at all. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, that's good.
That is good.
That is good.
That is good. That is definitely peaty, but it's
is.
not overwhelming. It how can I say? It does not flaunt the peat.
It definitely doesn't. I actually don't like very peaty whiskeys. I mean, like I said, my common theme is that if it's like drinking a bog, I don't want it. But this one, even though you could tell it's peaty, it's not overpowering. That's not the main thing. You still get the smokiness, some of the sweetness, and I like the finish on it. So
yeah, I think it's good. Did I tell you about how I learned about this whiskey?
No.
All right, so I was on a cruise in Northern Europe, and I'm sitting at the poker table. I think it was a day at sea, so I'm sitting there spending money I don't have, and a guy sits next to me, and this guy's like, "Oh yeah, hey, I'm in the Haven Suite, right?" So he's got an accent, definitely from Scotland, and so I just strike up conversation with him, and the Havens for Norwegian cruises is like a cruise within a cruise. It's like the VIP section. You have all your own shit. And so I strike up conversation with him. We start talking. He sees that I order a Glen meringue with one ice. And he was like, you like whiskey? I'm like, well, fuck yeah, I like whiskey. And so he gets the waiter and he says, get us 2 ARDBEGs with a little bit of ice and put it on my tab. I was like, this guy's buying me a round of whiskey. I'm not going to, I like him already.
Definitely wouldn't pass that up.
Yeah, exactly. So we sit there drinking for a few hours and playing poker. And guy was from Scotland, right down the street from the distillery. And he started just going into pretty much everything about the whiskey and about how it was his favorite. And I was like, all right, man, this is like your hometown stuff, man. I definitely got to try it. So I found some here, got it, still like it. It's not the overwhelming kind of peaty bog taste like Lagavulin is.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that, that's exactly why it put me off of Lagavulin, because as I said, it's just that really, really peaty taste to it. It's just like, oh, yeah. Now, some people like it. I mean, I know plenty of guys, that's what they go for the peat. But, I mean, I like the flavoring. I like some of it, but it shouldn't be overpowering. It should still be pretty smooth, and I should enjoy drinking it. And I actually do enjoy drinking this.
No, I completely agree. Completely agree. right. So,
All right. So I guess since we're talking about drink, let's
yeah. So let's talk about the stupid drinks that they
the
had.
stupid drinks. So one of the trending things right now in the U.S. is raw water. All right, raw water. Now you may be asking yourself, what is raw water? Like, do you cook water? You saute it? Is there a way to prep it? No, simple raw water is if you go out to a stream or a lake, you get a jug, you fill it up, and you drink it. And that's raw water. Now, the Boy Scouts among us, as well as military folks and anyone who's spent some time camping or outdoorsies, knows the problem with that.
Everything.
Yeah.
Everything's the matter with that.
Everything, because critters and things, you can catch many diseases from untreated, unfiltered water. That's why when you have public water, or even when you talk about bottled water, even if it says nice spring water, they're treated to remove all the bad stuff. Waterborne illnesses are not fun, and it just baffles me that such supposedly smart, intellectual people would fall for such a stupid and dangerous fad.
Yeah. So from Vox.com, they talk about what to know about the raw water trend. Untreated, unfiltered, quote unquote, raw water is apparently the hot new fad around Silicon Valley, or so says a recent New York Times trend piece. And as we read through this article, which we're not going to do, I'll link it later in the description, but it's essentially bottled creek water or stream water with no kind of filtration or treated. It's just dirty water essentially, and that can lead to some very, very bad times.
Well, before we get into like the bad stuff in it, the thing that kills me about it is the way they're actually getting the water. So, yeah, they're not even like there's not like they bought land and they're like, okay, we got this land, it's a water source, and we're gonna collect water from that. That's not how they're doing it. They're actually going on to other people's lands, private property, and they're going to their streams and lakes and stuff like that, and filling up their water jugs and selling it. And you know how much they sell a gallon of raw water? What's the going rate for raw water?
What is the going rate for raw water?
It is $37 a gallon.
$37 a gallon.
A gallon of raw water. Now,
and how much for refills?
I think they charge like $15
to refill.
So basically,
so you're paying $15 for the jug. And $15 for the water.
Of water that could potentially kill you. I know, America and people. It's not just America. It's a world thing. It's a people thing. We get on these things, but come on, people. This is beyond stupid. All right. Just talking about the health risks that go with it. I mean, I can share. I know we both got stories being avid travelers about why there's a reason why they tell you not to drink water at certain places, because of sanitation reasons and stuff like that, and basically because if you're not also from a certain area and your body's not adapt to those conditions, it could cause problems.
Yeah.
So go ahead, give us a list of. I saw you pull up.
Yeah. So a list of common diseases, bacteria, viruses, and cysts are traveler's diarrhea, Giardia, and cryptos. I'm not even going to try to pronounce that one. Dysentery, salmonella, typhoid fever, cholera, hepatitis A. I mean, you're just talking. I mean, that's just the diseases. There's still so many other like bacteria and things like that that can still just give you a fucking bad time.
Yeah, because I think you still could get E. coli. You could get things like salmonella.
Yeah, E. coli's on there.
Yeah, but like dysentery. So dysentery.
That's what I kept dying on in fucking Oregon Trail, man. I always died.
Dysentery?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I caught dysentery twice because I didn't learn my lesson. I caught dysentery in Afghanistan when I was deployed there. And it was because of the, I have this problem that I travel a lot. and I always, every time I go to a new place, I want to go native. I've lived across the world. I've been to a lot of places, so I always want to go native, and I want to do things how the natives are and see things through their eyes. And it's not always panned out for me. And Afghanistan was one of those times where, when I was with a lot of the Afghan National Army troops and on their base. I was embedded with their base, and I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna eat and drink like these people were here to help serve and train and stuff like that." So after eating and drinking the water locally and on the base, I remember one time I was feeling bad and I had to. I actually felt like I had to fart. Like that's what it really felt like. Like there's this I was gonna have to let out this huge fart, and I went to the bathroom, and I was like, maybe I need to sit down because it might be one of those wet ones. And sure enough, it was. I sat down, and it was like, and it just came pouring out. And what made it bad is it didn't stop. So like when I thought I was done and I felt better, I would go, and then it would hit like I have to go to the bathroom right now, and I couldn't stop it. So I had to run and try to get to the closest latrine or ditch somewhere and relieve myself. And at night in our hooch, which I know my hooch mates didn't appreciate, is that I had a 5-gallon can that I used as a impromptu toilet. So I would wake up in the middle, like when I felt the calling, I'd jump up, sit on the toilet, and you can just hear it. And then in the morning I go clean it out. But I put a lid on it, but still it made it stink. I'm surprised they didn't freaking kick me out. But yeah, I ended up going to the medics. I was put on IVs for 2 days and watched, and got better. And then almost a year from that time, I caught it again for the same stupid reason, because I don't learn.
Yeah, learning's hard. It's really hard, especially when you're just like, oh, it's fine. Like, I can just do this. Like, my story, my nightmare, is when I went to Egypt. So I did a week-long Egypt tour, a few days in Cairo, flew down to Abu Simbel, then up to, I think, Aswan Dam, and then took a cruise up from Aswan into Luxor, right? So a few days into the trip, this is all a guided tour, so I'm with the group the entire time, charter buses, armed bodyguards. I mean, like, they're literally just shuffling us along from site to site, and we're just taking pictures as we go kind of thing. And staying in 4 or 5-star hotels, like, just amazing looking at this point. And this is back in 2008, 2009 time frame, before Arab Spring. Yeah, definitely before Arab Spring. So we're down there, and we have just amazing hotels. I'll tell you right. Like, I mean, marble and gold, and I thought I was Donald Trump for a second. But triggered, yeah. But I got so used to like being there and like in those high quality places because it's 4 or 5-star resort that caters to travelers, so they have filtration there. And we were there with a bunch of other travelers from our area, so we were like, hey, they gave us like a lot of the scoop. They were like, hey, only use bottled water. Oh, like never even open the tap, only bottled water. And so I did that for the longest time, right? Until I got on the cruise ship or the Nile cruise boat, right? Towards the end, like the last 2-3 days of the trip, we're on a Nile cruise boat up the Nile. And I wake up one morning, do my normal routine, go to brush my teeth, open the tap, like put a little bit of water like on my toothbrush and brush my teeth, right? Didn't feel it until like that night, and we were in Luxor. Oh, and I was so fucked up. I mean, I was like, we were in like the nicest hotel I've probably ever seen on the Nile River with like an infinity pool that goes out into the Nile. I mean, just fucking luxury, right? And I'm in the fucking bed, like curled up like a little bitch, hacking everything I ate. I mean, like everything's coming out. everything's coming out. So I'm sitting there having Motrin and whatever else, like whatever other drugs they can give me. I'm just at this point, I am just fucked up. Like I don't remember hardly any of it. I remember waking up to like wet rags on my face.
What did you catch?
I don't know. It was around the time like swine flu came around. Like I was probably like some kind of dysentery or something, but like I just remember like I had just a little bit. And that's the only time I ever had any of the quote unquote public water type, and I was horrible. Like I remember being on the bus like the next day. We were going to monuments, like, and I was dressed in white linen. So we're on a tour bus. We stop at like these statues. And they're beautiful statues, fucking thousands and thousands of years old. I get off of the boat, give the wife the camera, or I get off the bus, give the wife the camera. I step in front of the statues, just look at her like fucking dead faced. She takes a picture, and I walk right back on. I don't even say a word. I walk right back on and pass out in the bathroom on the bus. I was so gone.
Yeah, so I mean that's that, and it, you know, that proves the stupidity of this whole raw water movement. I don't know, man. It just I guess this is capitalism at its finest, because it's just showing people that you can literally sell anything. So I offer our next business venture should be, hear me out, gluten-free, organic, vegan, raw water. See, we're gonna step it up a bit.
It's vegan now.
It's vegan now.
That's
so
good. I really hope no deers were harmed in the making of that water, like they drowned in a creek or something later. I don't know.
We only source our water from deer drowned free creeks.
And we know this. We know this. Okay. But that's also you know, you said that's the
stupidity.
But that's the epitome of capitalism.
Yeah.
Right? But it's also like the epitome of Darwinism. Because if you're going to buy that because you think it's like the new trend, it's, oh, this is the most healthiest thing, it's all natural. It's like, you obviously don't know what our ancestors, like our lineage went through to just stay healthy, where, boiled water, filter water. There's so many different filtration systems.
Well, see,
you have ionized tablets.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just there's so many ways to stay healthy out there.
Yeah, but this is a trend. So these sort of trends are kind of cyclical, because a few years back we had it wasn't just it was the raw milk movement. This was probably like, I want to say early mid 2000s, where, you know, everyone was getting on this kick where, you know, oh man, you need to drink raw milk. And the thing with raw milk, yes, granted, pasteurization does kill a lot of what we call the quote unquote good stuff that you get from milk, from cow milk, but that there's a reason why we pasteurize, simply to kill all the bad things that you can get from raw milk. And so I remember a lot of people were pushing that a couple of years back, and, you know, that was just a big craze. Oh, we're so healthy because we're drinking raw milk. We're going to drink raw milk. I just go down and drink raw milk. And I pointed out several times that, because I actually went to one of the farms that sold it and asked, you know, because there's this farmer, he's trying to make a little bit extra cash, you know, like he's like, idiots came to me and asked me for raw milk, and he's like, fuck it, I gave him straight raw milk. And I asked him, I was like, well, do you drink? He's like, fuck no. I was like, you know, he knew the health risks. He raised cows. He raised dairy cows. You know, he knows why he pasteurized, why he homogenized has nothing to do with health. They just make sure it stays creamy. But, you know, he understood why those things happen, and he was just, you know, sort of perplexed by people just coming out there. And it's just that quest for health trends is, you know, it's one of those first world problems where we're so well off that we don't, you know, we look for new things to try to, I don't know, that we feel are going to give us an edge or make us, you know, better or set us apart from other people, you know, being so either healthy or earth conscious or whatever bullshit that we're peddling that week. And that's how we get shit like raw water.
No, I completely agree with that. Yeah. Oh, all right. That's enough talking about water. That's enough of that.
Yeah, let's move on to something smarter.
Let's do.
Or not smart, but sad.
It is kind of sad. Actually, it's really sad. So in the news now, John Young, the astronaut, has died at the age of 87 years old. This guy is a hero to a lot of people, really. He did 2 moonwalks, 4 missions, and piloted the Gemini 3. That's a hell of a resume. I mean, we're talking he was on the Apollo 10 and 16, the Space Shuttle missions 1 and 9, and he piloted Gemini 3 as like the 3rd string backup.
Yeah. Was he 3rd string or 2nd?
Yeah, because Carpenter, I believe, was supposed to let me see that. Yeah, because he replaced Alan Shepard, who was 2nd string.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this is this guy. So, like, to get context, if you're not really familiar exactly who this guy is, if you ever watch any of the videos of the moon landing and the walks and stuff like that, the guy jumping up and down next to the flag, that's John Young. That's the guy we're talking about. And the thing that makes this great is because this was at a time with when America was pretty exceptional. I mean, even through his whole career, we helped push the boundaries of technology and understanding the universe through NASA, and it's because these guys that were actually putting their lives on the line, literally, because they were going out into the great unknown to gain more knowledge and bring it back. Granted, we wanted to beat the Russians out there and stuff like that. Sure, there's competition, but that's the good thing about competition.
Yeah, it pushes you.
Yeah, exactly. So, it is sad for his passing, but I mean, this guy's done so much. He needs to be celebrated, for everything he's achieved and brought back to the world. But I'm kind of, I guess, maybe cynical or something about that. But the thing I'm worried about the most?
What's that?
I'm worried that these coming days, there's going to be conspiracy theorists out there saying that they had him killed so they could protect the truth.
Yes, they killed an 87-year-old man because he was about to spill the beans.
Exactly. I mean, you still have many people out there that believe we faked the moon landing, and this is a guy that literally walked on the moon.
Yeah, well, it was Buzz Aldrin, right? Punched a guy Aldrin, who punched the guy.
Yep.
Who was a reporter or whatever, went up to him.
Yeah.
And started essentially calling him a liar and everything like that, and
he kept badgering. Well, he kept
got him.
This guy kept badgering him, and a lot of people think it was like, oh, he just came up there. He's like, no, this dude was badgering him for Buzz for a long time, and Buzz just finally got sick of it and just laid this out. That's why I can't wait to get old. So you could just do, you could lay out people and not get in trouble for it. Because then we're like, hey, you mess with the old man.
Yeah.
You kind of deserve it. But that's he's going to be missed. And NASA pretty much lost. Well, I mean, he retired. I think he retired in 2004. But I think at the time he was probably considered like the most experienced astronaut in the world. So.
And sir, we salute you. All right, so now onto the next headline of the show.
Well, so
mate, your dog's a Nazi. I can't do a Scottish accent.
We're drinking scotch. Man.
I know.
So this one is kind of falls into the our what we call the fuck category, because this is really silly. I mean, it's just silly all around. So, backstory on this: a Scottish YouTuber that goes by the name Count Dankula, real name Marcus Meacham, put up a video about a year or so ago entitled "Mate, Your Dog's a Nazi," which he states in the video that his girlfriend loves her pug so much and thinks he's the sweetest, cutest thing in the world. And he decided, as a joke or a prank on her, he's going to turn it to the worst thing he can think of, which is a Nazi. So he went on to train the dog to get excited anytime he uttered the words, gas the Jews.
Yeah, gas the Jews was one of the phrases, and then the other one was...
he taught it to put up his paw anytime he said, Sieg Heil.
Yeah.
So just to give you context, so to understand what the what he's being argued against, we're gonna play a clip of his video so you can actually hear what he did and his explanations for why he did it, and then we'll talk about the trial that he's facing.
Gas the Jews. Gas the Jews. I'm not racist, by the way. I just really, really wanted to piss her off. Jews.
All right, so that's a small clip. The video is like 2.5 minutes long. But yeah, in it, he clearly states that this was a joke at the beginning and at the end of it. And if you actually watch the video, it's quite obvious that this is a joke. Like, this is not views that he holds himself. It's just that, hey, you know what? I'm going to make your dog walk around, giving you a Nazi salute, your cute little pug that you love so much. I just turned him into this Nazi, or as he quote called it, a wee Nazi. And apparently that was against the law in Scotland, and he is facing a year in prison.
Is it actually against the law? Because I know in Germany, doing any kind of Nazi salute is against the law.
Yes.
Is it the same way in Scotland?
It's kind of
UK?
so in the UK they don't have free speech protection like in the US. So they actually do have certain things that they deem illegal. So one of them is like promoting what they consider hateful or harmful ideologies in there. So that's why you can get in trouble for like speaking out against Islam or any minority or protected culture, whether it's valid. It could be straight hateful rhetoric, or it could be valid criticism, which nowadays is still considered hateful rhetoric. But the thing that makes this so weird and just batshit crazy is that it is an obvious joke.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, it's a joke, and it's not. He's not doing this to push. He's not doing this to push Nazism. He's not pushing this to promote the Nazi views. He did this as a dig at his girlfriend.
Yeah,
and he made it public by putting on YouTube because that's what everyone does today.
Yeah. If it wouldn't have been on YouTube, it would have been on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. It would have been on something.
Yeah, it would have been on some medium, and he just said, and it's a really funny little campy video. I mean, I remember the first time I saw it, I chuckled at it because I have a friend. She has a pug, and I wanted to try to do something similar to him, but to be honest, that pug is too stupid to even learn that. I couldn't.
Well, so not only did he say it was a joke, but he did it as a joke, but he even states in an interview that he likes shock comedy, and that's what he was going for with the shock comedy. And it's like that's what we do. Yeah. You do stuff that people aren't going to expect, that offend the crap out of people, which is what we like here. And you could take it or leave it, but to say that that Count Dankula actually is promoting spreading some kind of propaganda for Nazis, no, that's not what I got from this at all.
He opens the video with saying, "I'm going to turn him into the worst thing I can imagine." Yeah. He's clearly stating that he doesn't hold Nazis in high esteem. Exactly. He actually thinks they're terrible things, so that's why he's doing it. And so the thing that's ridiculous. So there's been some coverage of the trial, and unfortunately, to this day, he was supposed to hear his verdict this week, but apparently, it's been pushed back. But listening to a couple of reports of the trial, it seems that like the prosecution, or what they call the Crown's arguments against him are just dumb. They're just baffling. They're like they're arguing that he uses the pug as a smoke screen. Like one of the arguments was if you take the dog out of it, all he's doing is pushing the Nazi agenda. And it's like, look, fuckface, the dog is the central part of the whole prank.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but he says gas the Jews, and he says
Sikaya.
But that's all he says. He doesn't say any other hate speech or he doesn't say anything else except for this is just a joke.
Well, and the thing that they also try to put, because one part of the video it shows the pug sitting. He has the pug in front of a computer and is playing one of Hitler's speech. As obviously like he's trying to indoctrinate the dog. He's like, and like the dog is really going, oh fuck, you know what, Jews, maybe I should gas them. No, it's not. It's all done for a gag, and the Crown is arguing that He's using it as a smokescreen, like, you take the dog, remove the dog from the equation, remove the dog from the video. It's like, well, fuck, if you move the dog from the video, there is no video. The video is all around. You see Count Dankula in the video twice. At the beginning when he tells you what he's doing, and at the end when he's like, hey, I'm not racist, I just wanted to do this to piss her off. It's all about the dog and the dog's reaction to what he's doing to it. And it's funny. Is it stupid? You could probably say it's stupid, but
isn't it bad taste? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well,
but like that's not just because it's bad taste and it could be offensive to some doesn't mean that it's illegal.
And the thing about it, I guess that's that makes it so bad is that when you have big comedy greats that have sprung up over the last couple of years. So you have Monty Python was a very big hit in 60s, 70s, and so on for their comedy. And their comedy, normal people wouldn't call it. I mean, there was some uproar to it, but they weren't afraid to push the envelope and poke fun at things. So one of the big things they used to catch a lot of flack over was the Life of Brian, where they basically told it. They were telling the story of Jesus, but it wasn't Jesus. So basically, what they did in the movie is that Brian, through chance, finds himself to become a messiah of this, and forms a small group of followers. Now, he didn't set out to become the messiah. He did nothing other than live his life, and people decided to follow him. And there's a part in there that was true to form, whereas there was a square and there was several people preaching, salvation from different messiahs. There was different people, that this great savior, was going to come, and then, different tales for that. And then Brian eventually became one of them. And the thing the film, the thing that caused the big outroar at the end was, at the end, Brian gets crucified. All right. So it's Brian and there's a bunch of people out, they're on cross and it's crucified. It's not bloody. This is not like, what was it? Passion of the Christ, where it's all bloody. It's this is a comedy, but he's hanging out there, and then, and the song, the movie ends with them singing, everyone in the crucifix singing a song called, Always Look on the Bright Side of Life.
Always look on the bright side of life.
Dude, I can't whistle that right now. But the thing with that, it caused a huge uproar from the Catholic Church and from other people. I mean, I remember, even in the United States, people were protesting it. Oh, you're making fun of our Jesus and all that. And it's like, yeah, because it's funny. And to be honest, they were actually, in some sense, historically accurate. There were, in those days, a lot of people claiming different messiahs. Like, Jesus was not the only messiah that was prophesied during those times. There was actually several others. Jesus just happened to win out, So there was competing theories on who was going to be the great Messiah, so being offensive or bringing up things that are offensive is not uncommon to the United Kingdom. So when you see something like this, where people are, I don't even think it's people. I think there's a lot of people who actually, support or on Count Dankula's side. I just think that it's weird that the government itself is putting so much effort to prosecute and imprison someone for a year for something that's obviously a joke.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, but I mean, we've seen that all the time where it's frivolous lawsuits, it's frivolous. It's essentially social justice. You know, there's an outrage. Oh, we have to get them. We'll find something legal that we can possibly misconstrue to tangle them up legally in the court system, and I feel like that's that like this could just be a part of that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to say anything, 27, I say I don't know, maybe for the last 2-3 years, like 2017 was definitely, or no, I wouldn't say 27. I say 2016 was definitely the year for outrage. Everything was outrageous. Everything was, we have to have a react for everything that came up, and even. When you get into comedy, the thing about comedy, is that good comedy pokes fun at everybody. Good comedy is funny and it can be offensive.
Look at the Dave Chappelle show. Show. if he didn't poke fun at anybody, he poked fun at everybody.
Well, let's look
at the racial draft.
Wait,
that skit, that thing was awesome. It was hilarious.
Let's go back to the very first skit of the Chappelle show.
Which one was that?
You don't remember the very first skit of the Chappelle? It's one of his most memorable skits.
I've seen them all, but I don't remember which one was the first.
The very first one. And this is where we thought, and I remember watching it air, and when I saw this first skit, I was like, oh shit. It was a Clayton Bigsby skit. The black-white supremacist.
Yep.
And, that set the tone for the show. And let's remember, the Chappelle Show was considered one of the highest rated shows and one of the best comedy shows, sketch comedy shows ever. People still quote it to this day. People still refer to it to this day.
I'm rich, bitch.
It launched Dave Chappelle into, Dave Chappelle was kind of known in Hollywood. He's done a couple of movies. Of course, he was in Half Baked and Robin Hood Men in Tights, and The Nutty Professor. But he went from like these little, a kind of known comedian to like, boom, like it catapulted him into like the stardom because everyone was talking about red, yellow, black, white. Everyone was quoting Chappelle Show.
Oh yeah.
So, and yeah, to say the Chappelle Show was not offensive would be ludicrous because it was, and he made fun of everybody.
He did, but he did it in such a way that like there were no survivors. Everybody got hit, and I think that's I don't want to say his saving grace, but I think that was like the level playing field was no one at any time was better than the other. Everybody got heat.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the thing when I say when it comes to comedy is you usually say that comedians usually speak the most truth. Right, that's why oftentimes it's cited that like the most powerful person in the king's court was the jester, because the jester is the guy who could make fun of the king, speak his mind, and wouldn't get killed for it because he did it in the form of a joke. And the same thing with comedians. When comedians generally, of course, there's different levels. You have hacks and you have like just greats. But comedians generally speak the truth. They are the test. They're the pulse of society. And we found a lot now where people are trying to stifle comedy because it does speak the truth. It speaks the truth and to the ridiculousness that we face a lot in society. So when you start seeing, people trying to push that down to suppress it because of feelings, to me, it's stupid. Like one, they always say if you need to be able to laugh at yourself, or you hear things like you should be able to laugh. Don't take yourself seriously, or laughter's the best medicine, and yada yada yada. But then we get to something. It's always great until someone makes some fun of something that's close to home and it hits a nerve with you.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking of hitting home, we're gonna transition to the next story, which is completely not hitting home. You shouldn't hit home. So there are two cases right now in the UK that we've read about recently. One is with Danny Kaye, and the other one is with Liam Allen.
Yeah,
and these guys are like getting like completely the shit end of any kind of fucking stick you could think about. To be honest,
yeah.
I mean, these guys were accused of rape and sexual assault and sexual misconduct, and then proved innocent. And the whole time, but one of them did jail time, did 2 years of jail time
Yeah.
before he was proved innocent, and the other one was on probation or at the time.
Yeah. So and these. So this is where we're gonna get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah, no.
This is where the backlash is gonna come in, and some people. But I don't care because shit like this needs to be talked about. Big Tim, we saw in 2017 the Me Too movement has gotten a lot of traction and stuff like that. And I'm gonna say there and I say, look, I'm gonna be honest. I am not a fan of the Me Too movement, not because not because I don't want women to come forward or people to come forward. I want to say people because both men and women get sexually assaulted and raped.
Absolutely.
People to come up and tell your stories. But I think I think things like the Me Too movement hurts it because it doesn't, what did we get out of the Me Too movement? Let's be honest. We got a hell of a lot of accusations.
And very little evidence.
Yeah.
If any.
How many convictions?
None that I know of. Just a bunch of people getting fired,
losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And granted, some of the accused said, you know what? Yeah, I did it. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's cool that, you got this person, exposed this person. But you also had many that said, nah, I didn't do that. And instead of actually finding out what the truth was, they faced the same fate as the guys who admitted that they did it. And so one thing when it comes to stuff like this, it's you always have to take this. You have to be cautious with it because accusations is just that. It is a claim that's brought forward, and without evidence, that's how it should be treated. I often say you shouldn't. They've been pushing this narrative for a while that you need to believe the victim. If a woman says she's raped, you should believe her. And I'm like, no. I don't. And I could tell you from even personal experience from things I've dealt with closely and personally, that is not always the case. All right. That is definitely not always the case. There are women who will cry wolf, will cry rape, and weren't. Now, I know there's going to be a big argument. Feminists like to say, oh, but only 2 to 3% of accusations are false. And MRAs will say, no, 40% of accusations are false. And I will say, we really don't know what that number is, real versus false.
Well, yeah, because, if you don't have any kind of valid study or survey, you can't have accurate data. But I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, it's definitely I don't want to say he said, she said, but it's definitely kind of a battle between the feminist movement and the MRAs, the men's rights activists. And this kind of topic, article, however you want to, these kind of circumstances are exactly why the MRAs are talking about this. Because it happens so often. I think there's several different articles that we read every month or every few months of men getting exonerated or proved innocent or released from jail because of
a false accusation.
A false accusation that is now proved to be. But that's the thing. Nothing happens to the accuser, which is like a pass, And you see stories, and I know people that have been threatened to say, hey, you're going to do this, or I'll tell the cops you raped me or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that's devious. That is so devious.
Yeah.
To have something that or to threaten something that would not only get somebody arrested, but to get them on a sex offender registry, lose their job, make them move, because they can't be within so many feet of a school or a playground or anything like that. You're not talking about, getting someone affected or making them or getting someone arrested or lawyer fees, things like that. You're not talking about that kind of,
inconvenience. It can have lasting ramifications.
Oh, lifetime. And even if now with the internet, if let's say somebody posts an article and they have the names on the article saying so and so accused John Doe of sexual misconduct, of rape or sexual assault, guess what? just because that he's proven completely innocent doesn't mean that a future employer is going to Google search him, find that, and then say, "Oh, well, you were once in the news for this, so we can't allow that. We can't allow you to work for our company." So they don't get hired. They can't provide for their family. It's a lifetime thing.
Well, see that goes into and that's really impactful with when we talk about the Liam Allen case. Is because this is a guy who was charged with 12 counts of rape and sexual assault, but what brought his innocence and why he's actually suing because of this is because there was 40,000 text messages from the quote unquote victim. Essentially begging this guy for sex.
Yeah, messages to him and to her friends.
Yeah,
right?
both before and after the so-called incident. Begging this dude for sex and wanting more sex, and and because of that, and what also made it bad, what also was that makes this such a heinous thing, is that we, because of the way we treat it and the narrative that we push on these sexual assault cases, that police, PDs, or courts want to see like they're doing something about it. They want to get a conviction out of all costs. Is that this guy was basically the evidence that exonerated him was withheld from the police, and the police had it. They knew about it.
Yeah, it was withheld from the courts. The police had it, and they knew about it. Yeah. But the courts, like the prosecutor and the defense attorney, which, hey, if that's going to be used against him, he should have everything.
Yeah. No. Yeah, correct on that. The police had it, the courts didn't, and it was withheld from the courts. And yeah, it's one of those things where they had it. This information that exonerates this guy. He's going through all this, and now he's speaking out about it because. One of the things that I actually agree with wholeheartedly is that once an accusation is made, and this is one of the reasons why I'm not big on I am not that full in supporting the Me Too movement. This is not saying I support sexual assault or anything, but when an accusation is made, the accused name is plastered everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as we said, like someone Googles your name on Facebook, the article comes out or something comes out, a news story comes out of such and such is accused of raping, blah, 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 blah. All right? But the accuser's name is withheld. Oh, we want to withhold the accused name for protection. We want to prevent.
But we're just going to drag this other guy through the mud with little to no evidence.
And I definitely believe that once an accusation is made, you withhold both the accusers and the accused name until evidence comes to support it. There's actually a trial and an investigation and a trial going forward on this, because again, if he did it, if you withhold his name, you do the investigation and a trial, and the person's convicted, and you find out, okay, yeah, he did do this. His name is out there, and great, no harm, no foul. You did not hurt him any more than what you could possibly do.
Yeah.
However, if you put his name all over the place, there's an investigation or a trial, and it finds out, oh, well, he didn't do this. Then, boom, it gets to go away, and you've not done any harm to that person. And the reason I say that both the accuser and the accused need to be protected is because when we have these false accusations, the false accuser generally does not face any repercussions.
Yeah, that's true, and that's a big selling point for the accused to do this. I mean,
well, yeah, because you're not going to face any comeuppance.
Yeah, there's no retribution. There's no. I mean, there was a high school student who had consensual sex with another high school student. He graduated. He was a college football player, high school football player. Yeah. Had I can't think of his name at the moment, but he he had a scholarship.
Oh no, that's everything. The Brian Banks.
Was that the Brian Banks?
That was
one?
the Brian Banks. Well, she actually did. End up getting Well, she's
not legally though.
not legally.
Yeah, but
they're going
because
after
she
her.
sued the high school.
Yes,
And so the high school went after her for what
because she
the money
got
that she sued them for.
she got like one point something $1 million
Yeah.
in that case, and then this guy, you know, spent years in prison, got out, and finally was able to get her recording her saying that she made it up, but she couldn't come. She didn't want to come forward because she didn't want to give up the money, or she was scared they're going to come after the money that she got. And it was like, no, bitch, that's not worth that time I had to be in prison.
Exactly. That is some ill-gotten gains.
Yeah. So, you know, and so she didn't face any legal. She faced legal. She faced civil backlash, but there's nothing that.
But she wasn't in jeopardy of jail time.
No. And most of them are. Now there are, to be fair, there are a couple occasions where the false accuser does face jail time, but those are like really few and far between. So, I think I guess the best way to deal with something like this is just like, we have to protect both individuals in this case, and we really don't. We don't. All you have to do is say such and such. You accuse some person of, this heinous crime, and that's it. You just let it go. It lights like wildfire.
It really does,
and it spreads everywhere. And even if you find out it's not true, or they bring it back, or they recant their account. It's never the retraction's never as big as the initial story.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be like wildfire, and be like, well, they just proved that he was innocent. So, and then you don't hear anything about it.
Yeah,
and that's it. You don't hear anything about the accuser. You don't hear anything else about
the accused.
The accused. It's just cut off immediately because at that point you're not going to get any views, and you're just going to essentially say, well, this is the same thing. And this goes back to the MRA's argument about it is this is why we're targets. This is why a lot of guys are targets.
Yeah.
And
then granted, we want to start, and no one really wants a society where sexual assault is rampant. I mean, if you look at most Western, one of the biggest things, like you could definitely tell, one thing that don't fare well, two things that don't fare well in prisons are child molesters and rapists.
Yeah,
that's because even people in prison, felons, criminals, they still think these people are scum. No one likes a rapist. No one likes a child molester. So to sit there and think that we want to protect rapists is ludicrous. You want to protect people's rights. You want to protect their dignity, and everything that you would expect. This is why we have due process. That's why we have the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And I find it very disheartening when you erode that. Now, there's many arguments. They'll say, oh well, women get raped, and and a lot of times the guy doesn't get convicted. And I'm like, yeah, if that's the case, that's truly bad. Obviously you want someone to pay. It's like if someone gets murdered, and they don't find the killer, you want the killer found.
But I mean, let's talk about that because, I've always said, and I learned this from my parents, and I've always said this for as long as I can remember, is I don't want to put blame on the victim, but there are many, many times where the victim is not 100% in the right. There are parts where they're at fault. Hey, you're going to wear little to no clothing, go out to a bar or a club, get completely shit-faced with no support structure, no support friends that are going to take care of you, and you're just going to rely on yourself to be safe? No. You put yourself in that kind of position, and you've expected nothing to happen. Now, if I walk down the street, right? If I walk down the wrong street in New York City, and I got $5,000 on me, right? And I have hundreds falling out my pockets. Do I think I'm gonna get robbed? Yeah, I do. I will probably get robbed.
Believe that.
But I mean, that's the thing is, you put yourself in a situation where hey, if I go out with a bunch of friends and we all have each other's backs, nothing's gonna happen. Something may happen, but I at least have a support structure that can, one, witness it or take care of everybody else. It's like a herd mentality, right? But then you have other women that have it's more regret sometimes because the amount of time of the incident to them reporting it is weeks, months, years down the road. And that's kind of what we're seeing in Hollywood right now is years down the road, like with Kevin Spacey, right? 14-year-old kid goes to a Hollywood party with a bunch of grown men.
Where were their fucking parents?
Yeah, where were the parents? That is the number one question, right? How can you allow your kids to go to these parties with Hollywood actors, with adult males there, unsupervised, right? You're just going to drop them off, have fun, Timmy, and leave, right?
And especially at Hollywood. I mean, I think from Dave Chappelle's recent comedy special, when he said, I've been to a lot of Hollywood parties, but none of the good ones had 14-year-old boys.
Exactly, 100%. And that is one. Know your situation. Know your surroundings. Hey, am I in a place that I shouldn't be right now? I should probably get the fuck out of here. If you have to think like that, you should probably get the fuck out of there. Yeah. Right? But a kid shouldn't know that, right? But who are they blaming?
Oh,
the person who made a pass at the kid, right? Yeah. Again, it's a shitty thing, 100%. I don't give him a pass. But in this case, 15 years later, right? I mean, you're talking 16, 15 years later. He's a grown man at this point. Yep. And you're accusing him of something he did so long ago. One, there is no evidence. I mean, did it happen? It could very well have happened. Yeah, do we have actual evidence to support the argument? Negative. Were there witnesses? I haven't read anything that said that there were witnesses from 15 years ago about a pass that this guy made to a kid. I don't have that. Yeah. It's really difficult to stand on that social justice warrior platform and say these guys are bad, but there's no evidence to support.
Well, see, and that's the thing too. Again, why I'm not fully supportive of this idea is because, all these things are coming out. They're coming out through social media and they're coming out to, these other channels. Now, if the only time I can see I would actually warrant doing something like that is like, first thing first, if you think someone has harmed you, sexual assault, or anything, any crime, someone has harmed you, your first stop should be freaking law enforcement.
100%.
Yeah. That should be your first stop. So if you are, you go to law enforcement and law enforcement sits out, fails at a job, which with these two stories, which we really haven't delved too much into, is about law enforcement not doing their job. Yeah, I can see you blowing the horn, dropping the horn on social media to get stuff like that. But a lot of these accusations that we are falling on, people are being hit by, they didn't go to the police. They didn't go anywhere. They kept it for so long, and then they decided, oh, you know what? This is my time to speak out. I'm gonna go to media. I'm like, well, it's gonna sound very bad. I'm just telling right now. If you did not feel comfortable enough to go first to the people whose their job is to help you, why should I care that much about it? Because you didn't.
Right, and that's something I talk about is it's a choice, right? I mean, they made a choice like with Harvey Weinstein. So he was in a position of power, right? Not like political power, but in a position of power. He was the producer of a large Hollywood firm. And so he had a lot of sway. Oh, you want this part? To actors and actresses. And he used that position to get his rocks off. Do I think it's good? No, not necessarily. Has it happened in the past? 1 billion times. Literally 1 billion times. So you have, and the thing that kills me is that he's been doing it for 14 years, but this is the first time anybody's ever said anything about it.
Well, they've said people have said things before, but again, it goes back to what I say to who. Who do you saying it to? If you did something, so I'm going to say, some of these women probably were very, very wrong. Some of them have buyer's remorse. If you decided to, suck Harvey's cock because you wanted a movie's role, and now you're sitting there going, me too, I don't feel sorry for you.
You made a choice. You made a choice at that point. You made a
choice. Now, if Harvey Weinstein, and this, maybe because I don't live in Hollywood and maybe it's because of my personality, but if someone tried to do something to me, like, imagine, oh, well, you're not going to get this promotion unless you suck my dick. I'm going to tell you to go fuck yourself.
And then you're going to choke them.
Yeah, well, I would.
And broke all
them.
the body.
Yeah.
Or break every bone in their body.
Pretty much. But it's like, yes, I know you want a career and I know you want to get ahead. But saying I want to be true to me first and foremost. So I can't really get behind well, if I don't play with him, my career is over. I'm like, no, fuck that. I'm not going to compromise myself for the sake of that career. I'm not going to sit there and lower myself. I mean, it's Harvey Weinstein. Look at that dude.
Yeah, he's ugly as fuck.
Fuck as hell. I'm like, I'm not going to lower myself to fucking do that shit. So, and if he did some shit like, they're talking about like, yeah, he masturbated in front of me and shit like that. Dude, I would make him still feel so bad about doing that. Like, I would be like, yo, what? I was like, do you need some tweezers to help you get that done?
Or go to the public, right?
Just, I would.
I mean, like, go to the public.
I would
like,
embarrass
you could
the shit out of him.
Take pictures, post it on Twitter.
I would embarrass the shit out of him because I would not want to take that. That's just, that's just me. I have a fighting mentality to begin with. Like, even when shits are gone, you'd be like, it's a nice day. Is it fucking a really nice day? Huh? Because I'm confrontational.
Yeah. it's nice.
But as like, and that. So, but when you talk about like actual, now I know he's been accused of rape. And I'm like, and if he forced someone, against their will to have sex with him, yo, string this motherfucker up. And matter of fact, I think he needs to, just because of business practice, he needs to be strung up anyway. But I think, when you're faced with these things, you have to, first and foremost, you have to go and tell people who are going to do something about it. And what I mean that is like, as a law enforcement, putting it on Twitter or Facebook, to me, doesn't never solve the problem. Because to me, it invites more scrutiny of the accusation.
Yeah,
you get the opposite effect. To me, if you come out and say I was raped, and the first thing you do is you put it on Twitter and Facebook, I'm gonna question it.
Yeah, because I'm gonna think that you just did it for likes, or you did it for attention.
You did it for attention, or are you getting? I'm gonna start questioning it. Now, if you said, "Hey, I went to the police and I reported this guy for rape," the police told me to go fuck myself, and then I would be like, "Yo, okay, now we need to fucking." I'm probably gonna be more apt to be on your side because, the people who are supposed to be helping you didn't do their job. I'm going to have more reason I would be more inclined. I'm going to say I necessarily believe, because I still believe evidence is required, but I'm going to be more inclined to fight that you do get heard. But I'm not going to do it just because you tweeted about it doesn't mean that, one, I'm going to believe you, and two, that it's true.
I completely agree with that. And my whole thing is, like you said earlier, the buyer's remorse piece, because all these women that we're using Harvey Weinstein as essentially the example, but it's happened so often that years and years down the road, people start coming out to say, Harvey Weinstein raped me or made me do something. Like perfect example is, or a different example is Louis C.K. So have you heard about that one at all?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so Louis C.K. Was accused of masturbating in front of other female comedians, right?
Yes.
So they are in a public or private setting, like a bar, late night, or in his hotel room. He asked the women if he can masturbate in front of them. They say yes. He does it because I guess they thought that he was joking, even though he says this in his comedy all the time.
Yeah.
And so he does it. And then later on, they start saying that it's sexual assault. It's like, but he literally asked your permission. The next thing this guy has to do is get a consent form and get it notarized, for anything to be believable. But that's exactly.
But see, those are the kind of accusations to me that helps that really muddies the waters for things, because I'm sorry, and I also believe in the grown ass man principle. If because then I think the one with the two in his hotel room where he asked him, can he masturbate in front of him? They both said, now mind you, Louis C.K. admitted that he did do these things. But the ones that accused him, they said, no, he didn't hold us there. He didn't force us to stay there or anything. They could have left anytime they want.
Yeah.
They could have left. I believe in the grown ass man principle. If some dude's like, yo, man, you mind if I whip it out and fucking wank one off right here? Be like, nah, pimping. I think I'm gonna go. I'm out of
Right,
here.
right.
I'll leave.
But that's the thing. He got consent. He got consent. Like I don't see how he could get any backlash after this, because now you're just having like chicks talk about how good in bed you are. Like he's a fucking horrible lay. Oh, he does all this like weird kinky shit.
Yeah.
And then now he lost his show. He's like in
Yeah.
decline now. It's just like
and
that's ruined him essentially.
yeah, and the thing and I don't want to. I really don't want to make this a men versus women thing, because it's not. But the thing I could tell you, like because you also had Terry Crews that came out and talked about his incident, and we'll go. He, even though he got some fanfare, he got some media support from that. It wasn't much. Most people pretty much brushed him aside.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if he's coming out with this story too, it's you're not treating. I say, first of all, you want us to listen, you want us to believe accusations, but only if the person that's making the accusation is a woman.
Yep.
And two, if that woman aligns with a certain ideology. And because if I tell you right now, when conservative women come out and say they've been sexually assaulted and stuff like that, they're not heard as much as Democratic women, liberal women, because they base it off their ideology, which I think is stupid. But you had this black man came up, and some of the initial comments on him, social media and elsewhere, was like, how could he let that happen to him? And I was like, yeah, and I'm gonna be the same way. I read his explanation. And I was sitting there and I'm like, Terry, I don't know, man. Dude walks up in a party. I'm with my wife and he just grabs my junk. Yeah, there would be a headline, big black man just fucking choked the shit out of this white dude. I'm sorry. I can't do it. There's some things I just can't sit back and take, and blatant disrespect like that is one of them. Especially when you come up now he may have came and said some innuendos, and I get that all the time. I've had guys make passes at me all the time. I've had women make passes at me all the time in front of my wife. And you just roll with it. But if someone comes up and grabs, like he says, came up and grab his junk like that, I'm gonna be like, hey, you're gonna have to do something. But hey, if that's his story, that's what he lived, all right, then you should treat it the same way as everyone else. If you want us, if that's the line or the response you want from us, you should treat them the same way. But they don't, and so it's finding hard. So. To get to, I guess to finish up this long.
That's not that long. It's just a little bit over an hour right now.
No, what I'm saying, not just I'm just.
Oh, this long little rant.
This long little rant.
But it's so deep though. Like there's so many different levels to it. There's so many different facets that you can talk about. I mean, we can do an entire podcast on just our thoughts about this, because God knows we've had hours of discussion about it already.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's something that is so inherently wrong with the system that targets one demographic specifically and gives no accountability to the other demographic.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. And it's just wrong all around.
And I'm just going to go on record. I know we both feel the same sentiment. This is, we're probably going to get accused because the knee-jerk reaction is when you question stuff like that is obviously you're for this. No, I'm telling you right now, I know I do, and I know Jay feels the same way. Yo, if you're a rapist, man, you are a piece of shit.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
are a piece of shit. There is nothing, I am a violent person. If you're a rapist, I will probably commit a lot of harm to you. I will commit violence against you, because I think that's one of the worst things you can do to a human being, aside from outright killing him, is to violate them that way. So this is in no way to defend these heinous actions. The issue that we're having a problem with here is response to just the accusations and the handling. Because when we talk about these things, especially when we talk about sexual assault, we tend to treat it unlike any other crime. We try to put it in a special little category where we literally try to suspend common sense and reasoning, logic, just to, in examining this, because we want to appeal more to feelings and, oh, what about the feeling of such and such? You know what? Yes, they might be feeling a certain kind of way, but we don't take feelings in account when we talk about murder or theft or anything like that. If someone's murdered, we don't go, or someone's assaulted, with a bat or something. You go, well, did you ever think about the feelings of? No, we don't think about that. We think about justice.
Yeah, well, because the law is black and white, right? The law doesn't care if you're offended. The law doesn't care how your feelings were hurt. The law is the law, right? Hey, did he say whatever he wanted? Yeah, he said what he wanted, but his words hurt me. Well, sticks and stones, bro. Sticks and stones. And and that's I mean it is, but that's essentially the thing. An accusation made with no evidence to support it
should be treated just like that.
Should be treated like, I feel like a crime, essentially, because what I said earlier of the accusation doing so much damage to the accused, so much damage or potential for so much damage, where it's
and that's what we do. So going back to Liam here. Or even Danny. We didn't even talk about Danny Kaye that much. Just a quick wrap on him. This is a guy who spent 2 years in prison. He was actually convicted of rape. And what was used to convict him were altered Facebook messages done by the accuser to make it seem like he sexually assaulted her and then tried to come back and apologize for her. And he didn't see this evidence. Him and his defense didn't see this evidence until it was presented in trial. And after he was convicted, he was talking with another inmate, and the inmate told him, "Hey, all your Facebook messages are archived. You can go back and retrieve them." And he talked to his, I think it was a sister or sister-in-law. She went back, grabbed up all the archived messages that they had, and it painted a totally different picture, so much that he was released from prison. And the thing that was such, why this is such a miscarriage is that, the sister was like, yeah, this was easy to do. I was able to go pull up all these messages and like that. He's like, so if I could do it, why didn't the people investigating this case do that?
Right, absolutely.
So it was a failure from the police, and they're not saying law enforcement is perfect, but if they fall down, this is why they need to be called out.
Right, and they need to. The victim, right, accused and provided this evidence, right,
fabricated.
Provided these Facebook messages.
Yep.
However, law enforcement or the prosecution did not validate the integrity of that evidence, which is a huge no-no. Huge no-no. Because now, they got egg smear on their face. I mean, they're embarrassed, which they should be. But, this guy's life is ruined.
Yeah. This guy spent 2 years in prison.
As a rapist. And, for this. And, I go back to that old adage, it's better for 100 guilty men to walk free than one innocent man to face time in prison, be punished in prison for a crime he didn't commit. So, and this is a very complex issue to deal with. This is not something that's going to be easily handled, but we know the wrong way to handle this is to just take things off of face value. In order to, for us to find a solution from this, we need to, start addressing these things with what we build our system for. We need to make sure that we do give the accused due process, and we also still protect the accuser. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying this is no means trying to throw out a victim, to the wolves and say you don't matter. It's no, until we establish that you are a victim, we're going to treat you with dignity and respect, but we are not going to believe. You should not believe or disbelieve until there's evidence to support either way. And we need to do that, especially for the accuser, until we start putting these systems in place. These are not rare occurrences. Like I said, we hear about them more and more each day. And even with the Innocence Projects, the number one thing that the Innocent Projects acquit men for are false rape allegations, false rape convictions. for guys who spent decades, some of them decades in prison for something they didn't commit. So that obviously tells you we need to definitely take a look at this. And I don't think social media and the court of public appeals is the way to address it.
That's a good point. I'm just so pissed off about like the whole thing to where I'm just like, I don't know. I always think kind of logically. I'm a guy, so logic. But it's like, just because something happened, right? Or you say something happened doesn't mean it happened.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong.
And I'm hugely evidence oriented.
Yeah.
So, oh, hey, we landed on the moon. Do we have evidence? Oh yeah, we do. We have quite a bit of evidence actually, which I'm getting onto a whole other conspiracy theory. But it's accusations with no supporting evidence. And that's the entire
evidence, motherfucker.
Fulcrum of this, and evidence, motherfucker. Do you have it? But that's the entire fulcrum of this entire discussion right now is evidence. And because without evidence, it's just accusations. It's just words in the air. But those words in the air can do a lot more damage to everyone involved, really. And that's why we all here at DOG think that anonymity. Anonymity.
Like
yes, it is. It's like Nemo. That's why anonymity is required. It should be mandatory for everyone involved in those kind of cases. Until
the case is panned out, because again, it could go either way. For people to say, "Oh, this rarely happens," they're lying. What was that stupid quote from Leon Dunham? Things that women lie about, what they ate for lunch. Things that women don't lie about, rape. Bitch, please. We have tons of that just happening. This is not to say that every woman that comes in and accuses someone is lying about rape, but we do know that they're out there. And until we can figure out a mechanism where we can tell a false accusation versus a legitimate one, we need to tread lightly. We should not condemn, tar and feather someone for being accused, just like we shouldn't blame, put all the onus on the victim for being a victim. It's going to go both ways. What we're trying to find out, what we need to push for is a way that protects both of them, both people involved, until everything is sorted out.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. Man. Yeah, so I think this has been a really good discussion. Thank you guys for joining us here at DOG, and we'll see you next time.
Peace. Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Dose of Offensive Gentlemen podcast. We want to hear what you got to say, so leave us a comment below and hit that like button. Also, subscribe so you can get your future DOG updates.